Yeah, it started now.
Chirag, over to you, man.
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. A very good morning to everyone. Uh, so today in the session we will be covering it will be our like session 4 of the Sitecore CDP training. In this session we will be covering on the advanced aspects of Sitecore CDP we will be talking about batch APIs, audience and segmentation. Yeah, so we'll be covering all those topics and presenting a demo for the same. Yeah, so for that, we just like to introduce ourselves. So myself, Chirag, I'm working as a Sitecore developer over with 10 plus years of experience in Sitecore. And I've also like expertise working in other areas of Sitecore, which is Content Hub, CDP and Personalize and Section Cloud. And also like I have been working as a full stack developer and having experience on the all the front-end technologies as well. And during my free time, I love to spend time with my dog. Yeah, yeah,
All right,
over to
well,
you.
that's me. Um, I like to say I was born in Sitecore 15 years ago. Started off on, the older versions of Sitecore, primitive versions, which were like 5.7 and 6.1 and stuff like that. And slowly and steadily got a chance to work on different versions, different products of Sitecore. Um, I am a five-time Sitecore Technology MVP, and I am also co-founder of Sitecore User Group India and host of a podcast called Sitecore Tech Talks. Apart from that, like when I'm not doing technology, I'm still doing technology because I like doing IoT devices. I make them in my free time, and other than that, I like to spend some time in my garden with my kids. So, well, what is the agenda for today? We have initially looked at what CDP is. Then we have looked at how data can be put into CDP using Stream and REST APIs. We first looked at those APIs and then we looked at them in action in a web application. Today we'll be looking at how you can import data from another system, a third-party system, into CDP for for various reasons, and we'll talk about those reasons as well. How can you segment data based on various attributes in CDP, and how can you get that data out from CDP to be utilized in other applications, which is the crux of the matter, right? Whether you go to Sitecore Personalize or whether you go to any other product, either in the Sitecore Composable world or any other third-party tool or application, how are you able to utilize that particular data? Well, let's start understanding batch import. So when we talk of batch import, it is basically, when you want to deal with large amount of data, you utilize batch import or batch APIs. Batch API will let you import that large amount of data into CDP via a job, an async process, and it's basically create a type of a file which CDP can understand, put it in a batch as a job in Sitecore CDP and keep checking its status. Uh, and then based on its status, it is uploading, then it is processing, then it gets uploaded and stuff like that. It's complete, right? So based on checking those statuses is when you can understand if your particular batch is uploaded correctly, if there is some error, stuff like that. And what data can be uploaded in CDP? Well, we all know CDP, of course, you could upload any of the entities, right? So you have guests, you have sessions, you have orders, order lines, events, all that can be uploaded in parallel. But ideally, it is important that you deal with what is more important to you as a batch import. I mean, think about it. Will events matter? No. What will matter is guest. Let's say you have a CRM system before taking Sitecore CDP, right? In that case, it could be a one-time activity to put all your leads, all your customers from that third party, which is a CRM, into CDP, so that then you can build on to those guest profiles. Or there is a nightly build. Let's say you have an e-commerce system, and in that e-commerce system you are processing all the orders at night, and well, when that order is being processed, you want to update status of those orders into CDP so that then you can perform various segmentations or other actions on those particular customers. Maybe you want to personalize some things for the user. Let's say you want to cross sell. A person has bought something and now you want to cross sell. You can only cross sell when you have the order confirmed, right? Stuff like that. So that is a brief about batch import. There are some formatting requirements, of course. There has to be a primary key, which is the 4UUID. The file that we basically have should be gzipped file, not a zipped file, gzipped file. It should be less than 50 MB. The mode has to be one of the four: insert, upsert, guest, or delete. And email validation rules have to be considered for ingesting the data. So, of course, because when you go to that customer profile, it has an email. Based on that, you can upload and do the needful. Um, so let's look at the process a little bit. What all needs to be as in a flow, right? So you need to generate a UUID, then you need to generate an MD5 checksum, then get the file upload location, which generates the checksum on the CDP side. Upload the batch file and keep checking the status of the batch. When that keeps happening, CDP keeps giving you the status if it is uploaded, uploading, and then it is processed, and then it is complete, stuff like that. And then once that is complete, you can basically see your data available in the Sitecore CDP. So if we talk of the flow, basically, let's say you are in a third party system. You are having a lot of data which you want to put into CDP. You need to get a way to export that data, right? So let's talk of a data export wherein some application is written, or maybe an API is already available from that CRM which puts the data out, and let's say it's a CSV file. So we'll take that example as a part of demo right now. We will have kind of a rough amount of data. We will look at that CSV file. We'll consider that to be exported out from a CRM. Then that data needs to be modified such that CDP understands, right? Which means the formatting of that particular data has to be done with those formatting requirements. Once that is done, it can be uploaded and then the process can be followed, right? So what all things or what all ways in which you can basically upload data or move data from one system to another? There are basically two ways. One is a monolith way, right? So let's say you already have a CRM system and that CRM is having its own implementation, right? You integrate CDP directly with the CRM and write a job over there. It's a monolith way, right? So you're directly connecting that one system to another using the APIs and basically consuming the API of CDP in that particular application. The other way is composable. So composable is in two parts. Of course, you can use kind of a workbench product like Sitecore Connect to fetch data from one system and uh, get it out there into CDP. The third way is using a middleware, which is having an Azure function or an API or a serverless function somewhere, or for that matter, it could be any other application. For an example purpose, you can even consider a Postman request for now, right? It could be something running on, an on-premise server because the CRM is also inbuilt. The on-premise server is also there. It could be two different instances, and that is running on a scheduled basis to put the data into CDP. I'll take a pause here and check if any one of you have questions around batch import anywhere. Otherwise, we can move further. I guess no. All right. So of course so we generally as developers, we understand that integrating an API into an application, well, sweet, it's easy. Um, Developing a middleware, of course, it's again another application, code application, wherein you are integrating two APIs and connecting those two applications together. But Sitecore Connect is kind of a black box right now. Of course, there is going to be a detailed training on Sitecore Connect as well. But because we were talking about Sitecore Connect a bit, we thought why not give a little bit of gist about Sitecore Connect. So what is Sitecore Connect? Basically, it's a low code or no code integration platform, which has, so you can put it into four basic terminologies or blocks. One is recipes. Recipes are flow of steps. It's a workflow basically. You have like connect with this application, take data from here, process the data in this way, then do this. If there is an error, do this. If it is succeeding, do that. You can write kind of a, process, a workflow in as a set of steps to be executed, which is recipe. Second is connections. So of course, when you talk of a workflow between two applications, we need to connect them. So you have authorizations of various applications available in Connect. Um, Sitecore Connect by default, so its foundation is Workato, and Workato has a lot of connections, by default connections available to applications. You can either utilize those or you can create your own customized connection and connect two applications together. Third is triggers. Triggers are um, an event when the workflow or recipe will be executed. It could be a scheduled event, let's say executing every 5 minutes or executing every 15 minutes, or it could be based on a trigger that you know what once this action happens, do this. That is when action comes into picture. Action can be that if this is happening, this is the action we need to take, right? So action could be both ways, an entry point as well as an exit point. So that's a little bit about Connect. And we will now look at a walkthrough of data manipulation, of how the data needs to be really updated as per what your CDP can understand. All right. So what we have here is an Excel file, and I'm just opening it right now for us to look at. I hope it is visible on the screen. Okay, thank you. So consider this as an export from a system. We mentioned during our initial sessions that Chirag and I both are car enthusiasts, and hence our example is also around cars. And we like Mahindra and Tata cars a lot. So this example is specific to Mahindra cars. So what we have data here is, let's say we are car enthusiasts and we are having data of various people from the CRM, right? We have records, like we have more than 100 records available. And this data is actually created by Chirag and me, as a matter of fact, for the example. Um, what we have done here is we have a few properties which are available in Sitecore CDP. We have considered them by default and initialized them so that that value can be available in Sitecore CDP. And then you can look at the actual field values. We have also considered, from a business standpoint, what is called an extension. So these data, which is business specific, will be available in extensions. And so this particular data, raw data, which is available from a system, we will now manage it in Sitecore CDP by some way, right? So we have like ID of the customer, we have the status of the customer, whether the test drive is taken by the user or vehicle is bought by the user. Then we have their email ID, right? And then we have their phone number, first name, last name. These people, so disclaimer, these people, according to us, do not really exist because we have created this data. But if anybody has the same name, we are extremely sorry. We didn't mean to take your name. Uh, Gender, city, state, country, first seen, last seen. So these two are the parameters inside CDP. Preferred language. Of course, if you want to do something, some personalization, say based on language, in that case, preferred language can also be utilized. There is a, and then these are where, the business specific fields come into picture. As a user, let's say I like XUV 700 a lot. I have taken a test drive, and then which vehicle did I test drive? If a user or if a customer has test driven more than one vehicles, then they are also being managed here with their date and with their test drive, the dealer from which they took the test drive, and whether they have booked the vehicle or not, and if they have booked, at which date have they booked the vehicle. So I think pretty standard overall if you look at it, and if you think about it as a use case, very realistic scenario with this particular data. So what we'll do is we'll now try converting this data into something which is understood by CDP. So what we have is we have um, a code piece of code here. We it's very simple. It's a console application, right? What we are doing in this console application, we are taking the CSV file, which is an export from a CRM, and we are now putting them in a format such that Sitecore CDP can understand in a batch import model. So we have written a model for batch import. We have given it some properties, right? So there is a ref, there is a schema, there is a mode, and there is a value. These were the things which we mentioned during the requirements, remember? So these are those values. And so we have, of course, assigned it JSON properties so that when the JSON is being created, these values, like it will not be schema, it will be schema, or it will not be reference ID, it will be ref, right? It will be available like that in the JSON, which is created. Um, so we have given it the reference ID number, and then we are creating a schema of type guest. The mode is an upsert. Upsert is either insert or update, right? So it's upsert. We have a guest type customer, and then provider is email. And these are the default fields of the guest. Hence, they are by default assigned versus here are the extensions which we have utilized, and we are assigning them to those extensions. So we have given the extension name. Of course, this is more so from coding standpoint. We can create our own extensions as well, but then those extensions cannot be used in segmentations and audience export. We want to utilize it, hence we'll be considering our own extension, our the default extensions of CDP, right? So ext, ext1, and ext2, and we are assigning values to it here, here, and here, right? Cool, this is done. So now what we will do is, of course, I'll have to close the Excel file. Otherwise, it will give me an error that it is being used by another process. So I'm just closing Excel. Give me a moment when once it closes. Um, all right, I'll now execute this particular file, right? Sorry, execute this particular process, which will create an output file for me. So it's reading it, and now looks like the file has been created here. So I'll open that. Here is the file which is created, output.json, right? So I'll open this file, output.json. Okay, here it is. It's been updated right now. And here are all the JSON values. I know it's not very much visible. So what I'll do is I will open a JSON viewer and show you what that data looks like. Sweet. Of course, because hmm,
You can take one and delete other because
yeah,
that's
I think, yes, I got it. I know the reason. What I'll do is I'll take only one for now. Simplicity, right? So here is the reference ID which is created. Here is the schema, the mode, and the value, right? So we have its values as generally expected by CDP. So it's created that way. Then we have identifier, which is email. And then we have extensions, which is the ext has liked vehicle this, Customer status is vehicle bought. The user had done two test drives at two different dealers at two different dates. And here is the booking specific information. They have booked it from this particular dealer and so on and so forth. So this is how the JSON has been created and how it looks like. Now what happens is this data is now available for CDP to import. Um, we had all the demos ready. Unfortunately, the CDP sandbox that we have is having trouble. The batch imports are only staying in processing mode. They are not being uploaded, and hence what we would do is on Thursday, the demo that like it's going to be a full-fledged demo. We are going to also cover the demo of uploading this complete JSON into CDP to show you how that data gets into CDP from here. And hence the walkthrough for today was only the data move from a CRM type of data to the one that Sitecore CDP can understand. Uh, Although what we would like to do here is we would still like to go and show a few I had a guest data open. Allow me a minute, please. All right. So this is the import that we did yesterday, and even I think today morning as well it worked. Morning, I mean at 12:31 is when it worked, while it stopped working somewhere at 2:33. And but although you can see this is how it was imported here, and the data is available here. So the same data, it's of course a different um, guest profile, you can say, although the values that we were showing you about, emails and phone numbers and first seen, last seen, the preferred language, and the data extension groups of ext has liked vehicle and has vehicle bought, as well as the second groups having details about test drive, and the third group having details about booking information. It's all available here. So this is how the data will be visible to you once we import it through the batch process on Thursday, um, as a customer profile. And of course, if you have order data, it can also be available. Although we'll not be focusing on order data, let me be clear. The Thursday presentation will be very specific, and that will have import of the guest profile and state extensions. Sweet. So what I'll do is I'll quickly move back to the presentation, and Chirag will take us through segmentation on CDP.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Varun. Yeah. So basically, in the like earlier we saw how we can ingest the data in from CRM or any other external third party system to Sitecore CDP. Now, in this segmentation, basically helps us to group that particular data. So you might want to group particular kind of customers, right? For example, you want to group the customers which have booked the vehicle or have taken the test drive, but not have taken the but have not booked the vehicle yet, right? So you want to create a group of those customers and want to send an email to them that your test drive was booked, how was your experience, and you want to send an email to them confirming like about their statuses and all other stuffs, right? So this batch segmentation on CDP helps us to create a group of users that can be created inside for CDP. Now, as we have covered in the earlier sessions also, right? Uh, we store the data in Sitecore CDP in terms of five tables you can imagine, or in five kind of schemas you can think of, right? So first table is a guest table, second is a guest sessions table, third is the events, and fourth is the orders, and fifth is the order item table. So all these are the five tables against which the data is stored in Sitecore CDP. Yeah. So as we have covered in the earlier sessions, like guest have all the data extension properties, right? And then the sessions will be like in the last session which we had with the Garima. So we were covering like all the events, all the sessions. So there was one session created, which the session will remains valid for 20 minutes as we saw, which was configured in the point of sale. And then this session is valid for whatever configuration you set in the your point of sale. And then in the session, whatever like events you set within the 20 minutes will be stored in that stored at that umbrella of the sessions. So we will have one guest can have multiple sessions, and each session then can have multiple events. And then also in the last session, we saw like we can create orders. We saw the complete journey, how we can create orders, order line items, right? So where we have complete flow of checkout, we need to sorry, we need to add the items to the cart. We need to confirm, and then we need to do the checkout. So here also like we again each guest can have multiple orders, and then each order can have multiple order line items stored in the Sitecore CDP. This is how like the data gets stored. So this basically this design helps you to like create the SQL queries. So in most of the scenarios, you can work with the batch segmentation UI mode, which creates the SQL query for you in background. But that's a basic mode. But in some of the rare scenarios, or in case of the complex scenarios, those queries, SQL queries, you will need to write yourself, right? And writing the SQL queries, for writing that, you need to understand the schema table, how these tables are mapped to each other, how these tables are related through each other with a foreign key constraint, and which how we can do inner join, outer join. So basically, those kind of queries we need to write depending on the complex scenarios. So we need to understand how the inner join or outer join or any other kind of join which we need to perform on the SQL queries that can be done. So for that, we need to understand this diagram. Yeah. So why, like as I already told, right? Why do we need to do segmentation? So basically, we need to target like a specific kind of users for email campaigns, right? So in that case, we can use the segmentation because this will create a group of users that for whom we can send the email campaign, and then we can connect it through like we will be covering like we have created the group of users, right? A SQL query we have created, but now how we'll be sending an emails to those group of users. So that we'll be looking into the other slides, how we will connect to this segmentation to the uh, to send the email campaigns or to send other kind of marketing email campaigns. And then we were also seeing like in some cases we need to identify the pattern, right? So for example, we have covered in the XP world like profile cards and the pattern cards, right? And we need to know like which users are lying satisfying that particular profile or the particular persona the users are lying into, right? So that division we can do using the Sitecore CDP batch segmentation. So earlier we used to create profile cards, pattern cards in the XP world, right? So all this now can be done with the help of Sitecore CDP batch segmentation. So we can write uh, SQL queries, or we can write uh, basically what do you say, your batch segmentation UI mode query to group the users according to the profile card they lie, and then send the emails or send the notifications to them. Yeah, and then the lastly, like when we will be covering the personalization, right? So we need to trigger web personalization, or we want to trigger some kind of pop-up messages to them in the real time, right, on the website. So we can configure those also. So basically, batch segmentation can help us to create a group of users at the runtime also, as well as it runs as a nightly job. So we'll be looking like how there are two types basically. So one way is like the group of users are created as a batchly night job, which runs at around 12 a.m. UTC. So that will create a group of users. Other way is using the basically a real time. So basically, in most of the scenarios that we are working in the website, right? So we want to have a like for example, the users has visited product pages 3 times, and we want to do the personalization at that particular time only. We don't need to wait for that particular night when that batch job will run, like which is 12 a.m. UTC, and then give the results. But we want at the real time that personalization to be triggered for that particular user. So for that case, we can use the pass segmentation live mode. So that is also possible. But for batch segmentation live mode, you don't need to write SQL queries. You need to write the JavaScript for that. So the major difference between nightly mode and the real-time mode is like nightly mode depends on the SQL query. But if you want to go with the live mode or live personalization, then you need to write the JavaScript for that. Yep. And then like basically we'll be like covering in the demo like how we can create a segmentation. So we first like we need to understand from the business use cases, right? So we need to have a strategy defined of the conditions, right? Or the mapping data because we have mapped a lot of data which like Varun just showed in the Excel sheet. He has mapped a lot of properties against a guest. Now we need to know like which properties against which properties we need to add the condition and those conditions will be like we can create those SQL queries and other stuff. But as a first requirement is like the business needs to decide what all the use cases are, right? And then once the use cases are decided, then we need to map those use cases to the data properties data or the data extension properties which we have stored in CDP. Once that mapping is done, like we know like uh, test drive booked is against which data extension properties. Now we can write the SQL queries depending on that properties mapping, and then write the advanced of the SQL query depending on the requirement. So yeah, so first we need to create a segment and then apply a filter, which we'll be seeing in the demo, and then we can calculate the audience at the runtime. So basically, this will help you know like you have created a condition, but you need to know like how many users are actually satisfying that particular conditions, right? So you can create the calculate audience option, and then you can schedule that, and then that's it when you schedule that segment. So that is like published. So that publishing takes like it's then again like each job in which in CDP does it runs as a nightly job, which is around 12 a.m. UTC. So whenever like you're planning or creating a segment, you need to make sure like you create 1 day before because that publishing will happen at the 12 a.m. UTC and then it will be published on the next day, right? So every job which is scheduled, so it takes a 1 day because this is how CDP is architectured. So every job in CDP runs as a nightly batch job. This is how like the dashboard looks like. So here, like on the left, you can see like we have guest, session, events, orders, and order line items, so which we just saw in the previous slide, wherein we have all these you can consider as a table, and then each guest will have these subgroups under this. So as we in the earlier slides we covered like guest can be a customer or a visitor or a retired, right? So we on the previous sessions I also like demonstrated how the guest becomes a visitor, also the customer, and then also when how it goes into the retired state. So these are the subgroups. And again, like each subgroup will have the data extension properties. So for example, customer will have all these data extension properties, which are loyalty points, loyalty tier, nationality. So as I mentioned, right? So these data extension properties can be stored, like I just showed, as a part of ext or ext1 or ext2. Like all those data extension properties, whether you store on ext, ext1 or ext2 or till ext5, those will be coming on the fields column. So they will not be separated. So all these, so that's one point we need to consider. Like it's not like ext1 will be coming in the separate row or in the separate group. It's only in the guest properties where you see them separately. But when you set the data extension properties as a part of different groups, so all those properties will be coming in the single view here on the right at the fields level. So they will not be separated. And as I earlier told, like each data extension can have maximum up to 100 properties. And since we have six groups, so we can have maximum up to 600 properties. So all these 600 properties will be coming on the right field section. So, so we need to make sure like we design the data structure according to those limitations which we have. Yeah.
Yeah, and additionally to note, whenever it is an extension property, you will see an ext noted besides it versus bxt, which is the default property of CDP.
Yeah. Yeah, here, like as you can see, this is a kind of a simple SQL query in which like from which we are like getting the data from the guest table, and where we are may say adding the condition. The guest type should be customer, and the vehicle booked should be yes. So this is like basically selecting all those users which have been inserted in your Sitecore CDP from either from Batch API or either from Stream API or either from REST API. So it will select all those kind of users which have the guest type as a customer and they have booked the test cycle. So this way, like you will get the number of users or number of guests in your site for CDP that are satisfying those conditions, and then you can once you have this group created, then you can send them email or marketing campaign or any kind of notifications you can do after you have a group of users created in Cypress CDP. Yeah, and on the right you can see like yeah, sorry, coming back. Yeah. Yeah. So here, like these are like some of the SQL simple basic SQL queries. But if in case you want to have advanced SQL queries, so there are like snippets available for the help, which you can take for reference. Like whenever like we are working with advanced SQL queries, so these snippets are very helpful to understand and design the inner join and outer join operations, which I just mentioned. Sorry. Yeah. So these are the some of the best practices in segmentations which we have, which Sitecore lays on. So as I mentioned, like we need to identify the business use cases is the first pillar to our Sitecore CDP segmentation. So once the first and foremost step is like we need to align with the business or the BA team to understand what all use cases they are thinking of, and then how we can optimize if some of the data points are missing. Like if they mention like we need to do this and this kind of segmentation, but these data point are not even available in Sitecore CDP, right? So then we need to align uh, with the like BA team, like this data extension properties are missing, but first we need to insert those data, then only we can create the batch segmentation, right? So we need to identify the business objective. Yeah, and we need to understand the percentage of our customer base. Like as I told, right? We can write some of the conditions, but if those conditions are just giving the zero results, right? Each day when it runs, right? Or it's giving less than expected results of it, less than 50, less than like what the business is expecting, but they are just giving some minimum number which is less than 100, right? So that does not might be helpful for the marketing purposes. So we need to understand like when we are writing the SQL queries or when we are grouping the users, we are like creating the conditions which satisfy a larger audience so that that can be useful in the bigger run when the marketings or the email campaigns are created. Yeah, so and the third condition is calculate the audience size. So that is very helpful. This audience size helps us to know like the conditions are meeting the expected results or not. Also, one of the use cases which I've seen is with the audience sizes. You can also compare this audience size with the data which if, for example, you're getting the data from Salesforce, right? And so you can match the data from the Salesforce. So you on the Salesforce side also you can write the SQL queries, and also on the CDP you can write the SQL queries, and then you can calculate the audience size at the Sitecore CDP as well as the SQL. So if both are same, then that means the data is getting synced correctly, and that is what you expect, right? So it should not be any discrepancies of the data between Sitecore, Salesforce, or any other uh, third party from which you are ingesting the data. So for making sure the one kind of testing we can do is like we calculate the audience size and we perform the same condition on Salesforce and on the same condition on the Sitecore CDP. If they both are giving the same results, then we know like the sync process between the Salesforce and Sitecore CDP is happening absolutely correct, and then we are good to go with the batch process. Yeah, and then the yeah, we need to interrogate the organization data. So as I told, right, there might be hundreds of properties stored in other CRM or other system, right? We need to interrogate that because we should store only those properties in Cypress CDP which are essential to create the patch segmentation, right? Storing other properties which we are not using it or we are not just storing it for the sake of the purpose does not help, right? So we need to make sure we interrogate the organization data. We sit with the BA team and we filter the results, filter the data properties according to the use cases which we have and limit that data. Hmm. And the last and foremost best practice is like uh, this Cyclos CDB batch segmentation UI performs have various kinds of logical operators, which is and or except not everything of every kind of logical operator which you can think. So that that comparison which we are performing, we need to make sure we are applying the and or operators logically correct. Otherwise, we could get the data discrepancies when we are calculating the batch segmentation. Yep. So I will give you to the move to the book quick walkthrough of how we'll be creating the CDP segments. Yeah. Let me know once my screen is full.
Yep, it's visible. Yep.
Yeah, so basically when you log into your CDP portal, there you will see in batch segmentation. So here you can go to the batch segmentation part and you can create the segment here. So let's create a segment of let's say because we covered the sessions of whether the users have booked the test drive cycle. Let's say we want to get the test drive cycle booked users. And here on the left, you can see like we have all the 5 tables which are there. So sometimes you might get like your say Sitecore CDP has all do not have order line item. So these will exist only if you ingest the order or the order item. So if, for example, in your TNet you do not have order and order line item, so it means like you have not ingested the order and order line item. So there should be order or order line item per session or even ingested in order to show this groups. Then we can go to the customer and we can uh, take them as a let's say this is the property which is the test drive booked, right? And then should be equal to yes. And then we can also perform like the test drive vehicle booked is yes, but we want to know like in which region they have booked the test drive vehicle. So we can further add that. We can go to the sessions web. So here we can see we have geolocation uh, city or the geolocation country. Like let's say geolocation country if we add. And here, you will see all the values which are being populated, which is Vadodara, Dubai, and all other cities. So, for example, we want to get the users which have booked the test drive vehicles, and also the other condition should be like they should be in Vadodara, for example. So we can add that condition. Yeah. So this basically helps us to select the all the groups of users which are booked the vehicles as it and their city is Vadodara. So here you can see we have all the other logical operators we can have with the OR combination, and we can also do the except. So this not is the same as the except clause. So here we want to exclude. So if you want to exclude, basically if you want to include all the users where the test drive vehicle booked is yes, but do not want to include the users which have the geolocation city is Vadodara. So in that case, we can use the not condition. Yep. So here, this basically helps us to group the users. So if I just go to this is a UI mode, and if so, for example, if we want to have, so if you can see here, um, we have multiple conditions or multiple operators, which are there out of the box. So if you want to have we want to have multiple cities, then you can have contains operator, right? And other other conditions which are of string type can be used. And then for similarly for number, we have some conditions and Boolean and the date type. So as in the earlier sessions, we saw only the primitive data types. So yeah, so one of the most important point is this data extension property stores only the primitive data types, which is string, number, boolean, or date. So we need have the conditions according to that criteria. But if you want to store complex type of objects or arrays, right? So for that we will be also covering the uh, in the advance in the next session, like how we will be storing objects or the array of objects data inside for CDP, because by default out of the box it only provides the storage of the primitive data types. Yeah, so this is a sequel. This is basically a UI mode which can be leveraged by marketers because this is very user friendly and they can create the conditions on fly from their end itself. So in most of the scenarios, on the project which I have worked in, like these conditions, once we set up the framework or we lay out the framework for the system, so then the marketers or the BA team from the client side, right? The marketers from their client side are creating these conditions. So they are well versed with this UI mode and they can create the conditions from their side. And the other mode is the advanced mode, in which, as I already told, we need to write the SQL query. So mostly, if I go to switch to the advanced mode, yeah. So if I switch off to the advanced mode, here you can see a SQL query written, which is retrieving the table from the guest column, and the type is customer and the test type of vehicle book is yes. And then we have intersect. So basically, those who are working on SQL must be understanding. Basically, this will be performing the all the rows which are common between these and this, right? Other table. So it will intersect and get the desired results from that. So here, like you can see, we have sessions because we have performed the other condition for session should be web and the geolocation should city should be Vadodara. So this is how a basic SQL query runs in background. So all even if you write the use the batch segmentation UI mode, it will be converted to the SQL query, and that SQL query will run into the so basically, this Sitecore CDP stores, just for additional information, stores the data in Amazon S3 SQL Athena. So it's used SQL Athena for performing all the SQL queries. So that we will also covering in the later session how we can write advanced SQL queries in SQL Athena for getting the data and querying that. So this is how the you can this is how the query works. And these are all the snippets which I was just talking about, so you can refer them how we can create the advanced SQL queries. Yeah, so if I run the SQL, Mhm. Yeah, and so here this is the calculate audience. So it will take some time according to the number of guests in the site for CDP. But yeah, like for the time sake, basically it will give the results which are satisfying those conditions. And then once we are good with the calculate audience, it will we can start this our and this will get published into the next day, which is at 12 a.m. UTC. So this is how the complete batch segmentation journey looks like. And this is how we create the batch segmentations. And then we can link that batch segmentation to audience export, which we'll be covering in the next slide. How we'll be looking,
Uh,
I will be looking onto that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Chirag, just quick one. Can you please go back to the batch segments? Because I noticed even the calculate audience was not working. So if you can
Mm.
go back, we had created a segment yesterday. So that CDP training demo segment, it's live right
Mhm.
now. So it will have the calculate audience
Yeah.
already available, right? So it'll be easier for the team to understand basically.
Yeah.
If you just
Yeah.
go to view sample,
Yeah, so this is one of the segment which was she just created yesterday, which have the best vehicle book equal to S. So this calculate audience, we can see if you view the sample, if you go to any of these records, yeah, here if you go to the properties, so here you can see the test drive vehicle book list. Yes. So yeah, so this is this will return as from our understanding. So this condition should all return all the customers which are have the vehicle booked equal to yes. And as we can see for this user that SI vehicle booked is yes. So that's why it's getting uh, mapped to our Sitecore CDP. Yeah, I think Varun, you can share the slide. Sitecore audience
yeah,
export. Yeah.
yes, I'll just move into the presentation. I hope my screen is visible, Chirag.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, let's quickly jump on to.
Yeah. So initially, audience now the new term is audience export. Initially, like around 1 year back, it was called Audience X, but now this has been renamed to Audience Export. So we'll be looking how we can we have created a patch segmentation now. Right now, we need to link that to send the data to other third party or other connection which we have created. Right. So this is all possible using the Audience Export. So Audience Export helps you to link the segment to whatever third party you want to connect and send the data to. So it can be any channel which you want to send. It can be any kind of middleware. So if you want to send the data from Sitecore CDP through Azure function, you need to use the audience export. So that will be sending the data out of CDP to any other third party which can be which right. So this is basically export data out of Sitecore CDP, and that can be used for the, as I told, for the email marketing or the power ad campaign. And then the major advantage of audience export is like it lets you export the right audience data at the right time. So the time is also very important because, for example, we are considering the scenario where we want to it becomes irrelevant if we send the emails to the users after they have booked the test drive vehicles after 1 month or after or because their mind can change, right? So we need to make sure the emails or the marketing email campaigns are sent to that particular audience data at the right time, so that can be that emails are more relevant to them. So that's all can be made possible using the audience export. And then other advantage of using the audience export is like we need to have a transformers, right? So we have stored our data inside CDB from other site called Salesforce on, but we need to do some data cleaning right before sending it to third party. We need to do some kind of data sanitization or data cleanup, right? So all this data cleanup can be done in the audience export before sending it to third party with the various basically there are all the various helper functions in JavaScript to do all the data cleaning. So all the data basically these audience export is also called as a other name is also called a transformers. So this transformation basically helps us to perform data cleaning before sending it to other third party system. And then as I already told, this audience export can be connected to any other external APIs through the webhook notifications. So basically whenever the audience export will get triggered, right? So this will send a notification to your external APIs or the external integration tools. And then the lastly, this data which you are exporting the data will be either in the CSV or in the JSON format. Yeah, so this will be the detailed demo on on all the journeys, which will be covering for all the currently due to some kind of issue on the Sitecore CDP batch API, we could not demonstrate that today. But yeah, like in the next sessions, we will be covering the batch APIs or the complete process, which Varun just covered, like we need to generate the checksum and all other things. We'll be covering in the next session. And also we'll be looking on to because right now we have just created a segmentation, but that segmentation is of no use until we send that segmentation to any other third party through email marketing. So that will be done by connecting that segment through the audience export to any other third party. And then we will be see how all this can be used in the composable world and how we'll be bridging this, how the complete journey can be taken in Cypress CDB to construct the end-to-end journey. Yeah, this is our team for Cypress CDB training. Uh, so in the last session, we'll be clubbing all together and then presenting a demo, which will be focusing on all the learnings which we have gathered till now.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Chirag. So of course we know this session as well as the session after this is going to be, they are advanced sessions, all right. But then after getting the data into CDP, we need to understand the use of this data, and we need to understand how it can be really beneficial to a business. And hence, we have even covered the advanced topics of the sessions. And as Chirag mentioned, next demo will have those details available. Although if you have any questions around the initial sessions as well, or this session, feel free to reach out to any one of us, and we can do the needful. We can help you out. Thank you all for your time. And yeah, we can give you 3 minutes back from this 1 hour meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye bye.
you.
Thank you.